If you thought the luxury small car was a modern phenomenon, here's the proof that there is nothing new under the sun, as we bring to you the worst cars in the history of man's existence. There are no objective significant standard at which these cars have been evaluated, and cars on this list may have been judged by poor critical reception, poor customer reception, safety flaws, and/or poor craftsmanship. Different sources use a variety of criteria to ascertain these automobiles for their various negative reception. Such criteria, which records them as the worst cars of their environment, may include the worst crash test scores, the lowest projected vehicle reliability, and the lowest projected residual values. These criteria may as well include earning a not acceptable rating after thorough testing, determining if a car has performed to expectations using owner satisfaction surveys, and whether they would definitely buy the same car again if given the chance. Not to mention lemon lists. A lemon can be termed a purchase that turns out to be worth far less than believed and may even end up costing the buyer more than the initial purchase price. For insertion, these automobiles have either been referred to in popular publications as the worst of all time, or have received negative feedbacks across multiple publications. Some of these cars were popular on the marketplace or were critically praised at their launch, but ended up earning a negative retroactive review, while others are not considered to be fundamentally bad but have acquired infamy for safety or emission defects that destroyed the car's prominence. In defiance of all these attributes, some vehicles which were poorly reviewed at the time ended up being reevaluated by car collectors and became cult classics. The very first worst of all time on our list goes to the Triumph Mayflower. The Triumph Mayflower is a British 4-seat 1.25-litre small luxury car which was noted for its razor-edge styling and was produced between the year 1949 to 1953. As far back as 1949, Sir John Black introduced the Triumph Mayflower in a bid to prove that you didn't have to buy a large car to enjoy a spot of luxury. In the post-war years, Britain's automotive manufacturers were building largely for export markets, which was specifically for the United States. Black's plan was to export the Mayflower to America, where it would be lapped up by consumers keen to enjoy some luxury in a small car package. Although, by the time the first Mayflower had crossed the Atlantic, American automobile manufacturers were able to offer luxury and space without consumers having to pay a massive price for it. The Mayflower was built by the Standard Motor Company and sold by Standard subsidiary, the Triumph Motor Company. In October 1949, its launch was announced at the British International Motor Show, but deliveries did not commence until the middle of 1950. 35,000 units of this design was made, and only 510 Mayflowers found buyers in the US, and a mere 16,395 Mayflowers were sold in the UK. The very best example of a Triumph Mayflower will probably cost no more than £5,000. Regardless, it can be said that the Mayflower's upscale small car did not find a ready market, and sales did not meet standard expectations. Its body was largely inspired by the Rolls-Royce and Bentley luxury limousines of the era, most notably the Rolls-Royce Silver Dawn. but was much smaller in size, thus making the design and proportion look rather odd. The body was also slightly heavy, weighing about 930 kg, which when combined with a small four-cylinder engine made the car underpowered and slow, reaching a top speed of 63 mph in 23.9 seconds and a torque of 58 pounds. James Daniel May, an English television presenter and journalist, wrote in his Telegraph column, "I'm pretty confident in saying that the ugliest car ever to sneak off a sketch pad when no one with taste or discretion was looking was the 1949 Triumph Mayflower." He further added, "Its details are ugly, its overall proportions are ugly, its very concept as a car to appeal to Americans who believed they were directly descended from the Pilgrim Fathers makes one shudder." Stuff Magazine also had something to say, as they are a New Zealand news media website owned by newspaper conglomerate Stuff Limited, formerly called Fairfax, who are the most popular news website in New Zealand, with a monthly unique audience of more than 2 million. Included in their article on cars that should never have been built, stated, "It always looked like the mishap of a scale miniature of the larger, more elegant renowned model, viewed in the distorted reflection of a fairground mirror." It was also featured in the books The Worst Cars Ever Sold by Giles Chapman, NAF Motors 101 Automotive Lemons by Tony Davis, and an article titled The World's Worst Cars by Craig Cheetham, who said that it had the appearance of a Rolls-Royce Phantom that had been chopped in the middle. Our second option goes to the Nash Metropolitan. The Nash Metropolitan hit the automotive market between the year 1954 right up to 1962. One of the first attempts by a US car maker to produce a small car, which would be mainly used as a second car. Compared to other small cars in this era, it was designed to be much more luxurious. Its design was intended to be a big car in a miniature body. It was also one of the first cars specifically designed for and marketed towards women, while being publicized as a motorized shopping cart for wealthy urban girls. This car was produced by Nash Motors Company, who were an American car manufacturer based in Kenosha, Wisconsin, from 1916 until 1937. As the sales of automobiles from smaller firms declined after 1950 during the wake of the domestic big three automakers, which include General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, as well as a decline in advantages in production, distribution, and revenue, Nash merged with Hudson Motors to form American Motors Corporation, AMC. Nash automobile production continued from 1954 through 1957 under AMC. Nash, in collaboration with the British Austin Motor Company, who then carried out production at their Longbridge plant, making it the first US-developed car to be entirely produced in a different country, and was priced at roughly $7,000. However, despite having large marketing efforts poured into the project, it never sold as well as envisaged and ended up as a massive commercial failure. The main reasons for this were correlated to its poor performance, poor handling, poor reliability, and the small market of which the small economy cars on the US market were exposed to. Austin Motors sold the Nash Metropolitan under its own brand and later as a standalone brand on the European market, but it was not successful there either, with about 9,300 units sold. Brian Sewell of The Independent, a Brush online newspaper, called it one of the nastiest cars ever built. Stuff Magazine included it in its list of cars that should never have been built, saying, "Designed to conquer the US market by combining Nash styling with British small car mechanicals and innovation, the Metropolitan was an abject failure, being the worst of both worlds." Money Inc. included it in its list of the 20 worst cars ever made, calling it one of the biggest bombs in automotive history and definitely one of the worst cars ever made. Throughout time, the car has gained a cult following, with a small but enthusiastic fan base in America and Europe, conserving surviving examples, thus maximizing collectors' price for good cars. Its top sale price was $47,600 for a 1955 Nash Metropolitan convertible in August 18, 2023, now reaching almost 6 times its original price. Number 3 on our list of worst cars of all time goes to no other but the Renault Dauphine, North American version. The Renault was produced between 1956 right up till 1967. While the Renault Dauphine was a major sales success in Europe, where it is seen as one of the forerunners of the newly developed economy cars, it received a very strong negative reception in the United States, largely for its poor performance and poor reliability. A period review of the Dauphine by Road and Track magazine, an American automotive enthusiast magazine owned by Hearst magazine and is published 6 times per year, found that the Dauphine took 32 seconds to accelerate to 60 mph from a standstill. Autoblog, an automotive news and car shopping website based in Birmingham, Michigan, included the Dauphine on its list of the 20 dumbest cars of all time, and it was also included on the Time magazine's list of the 50 worst cars of all time, with writer Daniel calling it the most ineffective bit of French engineering since the Maginot Line. The Maginot Line was named in honor of the French Minister of War, André Maginot. This defensive line comprised of concrete fortifications, barriers, and weapon emplacements that were constructed by France during the 1930s. Its primary purpose was to dissuade a potential invasion by Nazi Germany and compel them to navigate around the defensive structures. Car Talk also had a thing or two to say. It was a radio talk show with a weekly broadcast on national public radio stations and various other platforms. The show's primary focus revolved around automobiles and automotive repair, often approached with a light-hearted and humorous tone. Hosting the show were the Maglozzi brothers, Tom and Ray, who were affectionately known as Click and Clack, the Tappet brothers. Car Talk placed the Dauphine 9th on its 2000 Worst Car of the Millennium poll and was named the 67th worst car of all time by Edmunds.com. The average price of a Renault Dauphine is $11,519, and another problem that damaged its reputation was rust. In a retrospective article from 2008 published in The Independent, it was noted that just when the US market had adjusted to the Dauphine's unique swing, axial handling, and less than impressive acceleration, they were taken aback by its dismissal history of corrosion. It took only a single winter of driving on salt-covered New York roads to transform the front fenders of a Dauphine into something resembling delicate net curtains. Renault apologized for the Dauphine's flaws in American print advertisements, marketing its successor, the Renault 8, as the Renault for people who swore they wouldn't buy another one. Moving further down to number 4, we bring to you the Trabant. The Trabant P50 was introduced into the communist East Germany market between 1957 to 1990. It was followed shortly afterwards by the updated Trabant 601 or Trabant P601 series in 1963, which was a Trabant model produced by VEB Sachsenring in Zwickau, Saxony. It was the third generation of the model, manufactured for the longest production time from 1964 to 1990. As a result, it is the best-known Trabant model and often referred to simply as the Trabant or Trabi. During this long production run, 2,818,547 Trabant 601s were produced overall, and it was the most common vehicle in former East Germany. Because of the Trabant's demode and ineffective two-stroke engine, which produced poor fuel economy, low power output, and thick smoky exhaust fumes, its duroplast body and production shortages, the Trabant was regarded with ridiculed affection as a symbol of the economic downturn of East Germany and of the fall of the Eastern Bloc. Many East Germans streamed into West Berlin and West Germany in their Trabants after the opening of the Berlin Wall in 1989. However, the end of the GDR also meant the end of the Trabant, as it wasn't competitive anymore against its new, much more sophisticated West German, French, and Japanese competitors that quickly conquered the East German and Eastern European markets following the fall of the Wall and the end of the Eastern Bloc. The manufacturer then tried to respond with an updated Trabant, the Trabant 1.1, that was first shown in 1989 and featured a new four-stroke engine by Volkswagen. But this proved too little too late to save the outdated car, and production of the new version lasted only about 2 years. Time magazine named the Trabant one of the 50 worst cars of all time, and it was included in Automotive Atrocities, the car we love to hate, with author Eric Peters. The 18 horsepower engine gained notoriety for its tendency to produce a thick plume of smoke, while its unsynchronized manual transmission demanded a substantial amount of Stolichnaya vodka to be managed effectively. Automotive journalist Daniel said the Trabant was the car that gave communism a bad name and was a hollow lie of a car constructed of recycled worthlessness. He also noted that after East Germans drove their Trabants to freedom in West Germany, they immediately abandoned them. Edmunds.com ranked the Trabant as the 9th worst car of all time, claiming it is one more reason why communism is evil. Richard Porter, in his book Crap Cars, ranked it the 9th worst car ever and said, "Before the old borders were broken down, we in the West thought we knew how harsh life was behind the Iron Curtain. Then we saw the Trabant." It was the butt of jokes in East Germany. After the end of the GDR, these jokes quickly spread to West Germany as well, and also became a pop culture phenomenon when comedy films like Go Try Buy Go and Trabi Goes to Hollywood featured Trabant as important plot devices. However, despite and partly even because of its poor image, the Trabant has gained a strong cult following in the whole of reunified Germany, with many collector clubs across the country maintaining them. Today, it is considered a recognizable nostalgic symbol of the bygone world of the GDR that, together with other products considered typical for East Germany, regained popularity since the reunification due to Ostalgie, a German term referring to nostalgia for aspects of life in East Germany. Finally, we bring you the 5th and final worst of them all, the Edsel Corsair. The Edsel Corsair was launched with considerable publicity. The Edsel, which was named after Henry Ford's son, Edsel Ford, marks the result of a $400 million investment and marketing effort by the Ford Motor Company to establish a novel car brand. Positioned between the basic Ford models and the mid-range Mercury brand, designed to rival General Motors' Buick and Oldsmobile brands. Marketed as a radically different new car, the Excel failed to impress the buying public, despite containing new features such as self-adjusting brakes and automatic lubrication, which would later be adopted across the automotive industry, as it mainly consisted of Ford and Mercury components already used in other vehicles. It became such a large commercial failure that the name itself remains synonymous with commercial failure in American popular culture. It was a big financial flop, generating losses estimated between $250 million and $350 million, while bankrupting many Ford dealers. Time magazine included it on its list of the 50 worst cars of all time, with automotive journalist Dan Neil writing that while the Excel was not a bad car, it was the first victim of Madison Avenue hyperhype. Ford's marketing mavens had led the public to expect some plutonium-powered, pancake-making wonder car. What they got was a Mercury. The Los Angeles Times included it on its list of the 10 worst cars sold in the United States, calling it a redecorated Mercury that had been beaten with an ugly stick, the legendary flop of all automotive flops. Stuff stated, the controversial Excel reached showrooms without comment. Shocked parents would shield their children's eyes from its controversial grille. CNBC placed the Excel on its list of the 10 ugliest cars of all time. The Excel's unique horse-collar grille had been frequently ridiculed for resembling a toilet seat and later even the female genitalia. Famous sarcastic descriptions of the Excel and its famous grille include that it looked like a Mercury pushing a toilet seat or an Oldsmobile sucking a lemon. The tail lamps were also criticized as looking like an ingrowing toenail. Contrary to popular belief, the controversial design of the grille was not the main reason for its failure. It mainly suffered from bad marketing and bad build quality, caused chiefly by Excel sharing production with Ford and Mercury models rather than being on a dedicated assembly line. It was also released at a time when the US was hit by a recession and demand for medium-priced large cars decreased as US consumers started buying smaller economy cars, especially the Volkswagen Beetle. As an illustration, in the early 1960s, Chrysler made the decision to discontinue its DeSoto brand, which was in a comparable market position. Around the same time, Ford also ended production of the Excel brand. Additionally, during this era, models from General Motors, Buick, and Oldsmobile lines were encountering sales challenges. Edmunds.com ranked the 1958 Excel as the 7th worst car of all time. However, in the book Automotive Atrocities, The Cars We Love to Hate, author Eric Peters declined to include the Excel and defended it, saying, "People made fun of the Excel, Ford's $400 million mistake, but its resemblance to a chrome-splattered bus station urinal aside, at least the Excel worked." Though hideous, you could count on the mechanicals underneath the skin, which was solidly Ford and thus as good as any other car of the era. The average price for a fully functional Excel Corsair is roughly about $30,000 and so far has become one of the prestigious cult classics. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel for more content. Let us know in the comment section what you'd love us to work on next. Till next time, I am Inside Life, signing off.